So, if you are here to unlock the secrets to conquering your Viva Voices sessions with finesse, then you are at the right place. I'm Dr. Fasiha from Department of Environmental and Occupational Health, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. We are thrilled to have participants joining us from all over the globe. Okay, so before we begin, let me run through a few technical points. Okay, number one, kindly mute your microphones to minimize background noise so that we can listen to what the speaker will be talking about later on. And number two, this webinar will be recorded and will be available for viewing afterwards. Okay, so let's go through with agenda overview for today. So the first thing is introduction of our speaker, and then our speaker will move on with the presentation of the topic. And after that, we are going to have question and answer session. And finally, closing remarks. All right, so without further ado, I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Associate Professor, Geospecialist Technologist, Dr. Sharifah Nur Khadijah Said Ismail. Dr. Sharifah graduated from the University Putra Malaysia with a Bachelor of Science in Environmental and Occupational Health in 2003. And after that, she further studied and she obtained Master of Environmental Management in 2006 and a Doctor of Philosophy in Environmental Sciences from the University of East Anglia, United Kingdom. Her main research area is on environmental health modeling and waste management. She has been a part of UPM since 2007, initially as a tutor and later on appointed as a senior lecturer in 2011. Over the years, she has examined over 50 undergraduate final year projects and served as an examiner for more than 30 PhD theses, 50 master thesis research projects, and coursework. Additionally, she has chaired more than 30 Viva sessions throughout her career so far. She takes pride in having contributed to the graduation of 33 undergraduate FYP students, 3 PhD candidates, and 10 master students. We are truly honored to have her share insights on tips and tricks how to win examiner hearts. Over to you, Dr. Sharifah.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Fasi. Assalamualaikum, very good morning, everyone. Am my voice clearly? You can hear me?
Yes.
Definitely, thank you very much. Hi, everyone, good morning. I hope everyone is doing good. Thank you for joining us for the talk. So we will have like a short discussions on just some tips for you guys for preparing yourself for the Viva sessions. Yeah. So what I'm going to share with you a little bit more further in like maybe 30 minutes, and then we have question and answer sessions after that. Yeah. So a little bit about me. I think Dr. Fasi has introduced me quite well. And then we will discuss on how do you feel about the Viva. So I'm going to ask questions. Maybe if you can have a chat with me, or you can just write some your comments in the chat box if you feel shy. Yeah, I don't think at this level you can be shy. Yeah, so we will have a discussions about this topic. So kita santai-santai saja this morning. Yeah, I hope that you already have your coffee with you. And then we are going to talk a little bit more on how the examination process, the expectations of the examiner, as well as the expectations of you as the students, and also some tips and tricks. And I just want to focus on one tips that is, I think, if you can do it very well, then your Viva will be very good. Yeah. And then we have a question and answer sessions. Yeah. So, yep, a little bit about me. I'm really honored to be given opportunity to read through several kind of theses. So I have been reading a lots of theses, and I really love to read theses. It's actually like reading a books. So it's a process for me to learn as an examiner as well as a lecturer. So it's a kind of to add more knowledge, to add more values to my teaching, my research, and it's kind of to get more ideas from you guys' research. Yeah, so it's really fascinating process. Yeah. So before we start, let me share with you some facts, about PhD graduates, PhD, master, and postgraduates, So in Malaysia, we have increased numbers of PhD graduates. So it has been increased from 1,000 plus in 2010 to 4,000 or 5,000 graduates of PhD in 2021. So in UPM as well, we have produced about maybe 400 of PhD and master graduates per year. So we have help students to graduate on time, and then helps them to grow their career, helps them to improve themselves and things like that. However, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization has reported that the numbers of scientists or researchers in science and technology has been decreasing, from 2,500 per million population in 2016 to only like less than 1,000, meaning that we need more researchers, we need more scientists in our community. So to help us grow, to help us to innovate and to solve problems, of course, when we do research, what is the main thing that you want to focus is to solve the problem, if you remember your thesis, you have like a research problem, research statement. So there is like what kind of problems that you want to solve, across your research. So that the researcher is into solve problems about public health, maybe about computer and science. I don't know your background. Maybe nanti, maybe you can share some of your backgrounds in your chat, in the chat box. I just want to get some ideas on what is your field of study. I think most of the our friends today, of our participants today, are from UPM. Anyone from outside UPM, maybe you can raise up your hands. Selain daripada student UPM, maybe I saw some, maybe from UMS, a few names from some public, from UUM, from UUM. Welcome, UPM, UMS, congratulations. Thank you for joining us. Husna kata I am from UMS. Okay, dari jauh, diterbangkan dari Sabah. Okay, all right. Okay, so what is defined by viva voce? What is defined by viva voce? So viva voce is from a Latin words. So in English, it's like it's about with living voice, meaning that you have to defend your point of view. You have to defend your research. You have to defend your thesis. So that is the process that we have. If you want to get your PhD or master certificates by research, then you have to undergo, or you have to go through viva voce. This is the final parts. This is the final destinations of your journey. Okay, so any one of you who are not wanting to have viva, or you guess like boleh tak nak ada viva? Okay, so tak boleh. So this is the final journey of yourself. So the examinations has to be you have to be examined through the viva. So nak tak nak, whether you like it or you don't like it, you have to go through it. Okay, so how do you feel about viva voce? Okay, so maybe I can get some of your comments. Any one of you want to talk to me? How do you feel about viva voce when you heard about viva? Anyone? Maybe you can write something in the chat box. How do you feel? Whether you are really feel excited, you feel excitement, you feel like I can't wait to go viva. Anyone? Anyone with that feelings? Okay, we read it from the chat book. Anxious, scared. Okay, Suraya kata scared. Riha, it's hard. Maybe failure. Oh, no, not yet. Not yet. Nerve-wracking, excited but a bit scared. Helda kata terrible. Abdul Kadir, terrible. Okay, the next. Lagi, anyone want to have what is your feeling about viva? Okay, can't wait for it to finish. Highly relaxed with the committee but scared from external examiner, Hisham kata. Josfirin, I feel like in a confined space. You cannot breathe. You cannot breathe. K kata happy, okay. Yong kata both external and internal examiner are involved. Expectations are uncertain. Yes, that's correct. Cheryl, I wish I can skip that part. Oh, I'm so sorry to say that. You can't. Definitely, you can't do that. Okay. All right. Then Wang kata then defensive. Okay, all right. That's okay. All right. Okay, thank you very much for your comment. So yeah, that is how I felt as well. Yeah, I think it's a normal feelings for everyone who will undergo Viva. Okay, but you have to decide what kind of process, Viva process that you want. Yeah, just now I saw some of the negative word like scared, nervous, anxious. Yeah, sometimes it's good to be nervous, but don't make the nervous stop you to get what you want. Yeah, so you have to think positively. You will get it. You think positively, you believe that you can do it, and you get it. Okay, with some tips here today, so I'm sure that you can do it better than what I've done. Okay, so just let me share with you of my experience. I've been having my Viva for 3 hours, not too bad, right? For PhD. So I heard that some of my friends have undergo like maybe more than 3 hours. It depends on the situation. It depends on the examiner. It depends on how well you are trying to articulate of your answer. Some of my friends doing less than 2 hours. Yeah, so there is some occasions that it happened just within 1 or 2 hours. It depends on the situations. Yeah. So it depends on how good is your thesis, how understand is your examiner with your thesis, right? So because what we receive is basically only the thesis. We don't know you. Yeah, we don't know you per se. We don't know how struggle you are with your work. We don't even dare with you in the lab. Yeah. So if we notice that you have very hard work, so maybe we have some pity. Okay, we feel like okay, let pass the student. So but we don't know. So we don't have an idea of what you are doing. We just depends on the thesis that you send to us. Yeah. So that is why the tips today is with regards to your thesis. Okay. So before that, so I want you to close your eyes, think positively. What kind of Viva process that you want to be? Maybe you can write something in the chat box. What kind of, you think that, what kind of Viva that you will have after you go through these tips that I'm going to share with you today. Okay, so hadap je lah Suraya kata. Okay, all right. Okay, face it, face it. Okay, yeah. You cannot run away anyway, kan? Okay. Anyone? Hope the examiner have mercy. Okay, of course we will give you some mercy. Okay, all right. Okay, so let us now go to the tips. Yeah, what you can do to have a better Viva Voce sessions. Yeah. So what is the process before the Viva? So your supervisor will select the best examiner for you. Okay. So basically, as a supervisor, I will select someone who are in the field, similar field with what are the research of my students. So definitely. And then I want the examiner have a good knowledge about the research so that she or he will give a better comments for my students. So that is what the role of the supervisor. So the tips number 1 is find out about your examiner. Okay, so once your supervisor have appointed them, so you can have a look at their CVs and try to read few of their papers, find out what are their interests. Why you have to know your examiner is because it is very important for you to try to figure out what kind of questions that she or he may ask. Yeah. For example, my field is in waste management. When I assess students that doing waste, for example, so I definitely want to know more about the concept of the waste management that they are trying to research. Yeah. So the benefit of it about waste management and things like that. So that is my field. Sometimes I've been assessed, even though it's not my field, but some modeling, for example, because I have experience doing modeling, then that is dealing with statistics and things like that. So I will ask more about statistics. Yeah. So that is very important for you to know a little bit backgrounds of your examiner. So with the usage of the Google, yeah, internet, so I guess there is not really a problem for you to get informations about the examiner. Yeah, you can find their CVs everywhere. You can find their papers in Scopus, for example. So you can read a few of these papers and find out what will be the questions that they will ask you. Okay. All right. So next is tips number 2. Okay. So what is the process before Viva? Once we nominate the examiner, so the SGS will process and then they will send your thesis to them. So bila kita buka as an examiner, when I receive your thesis, yeah, for example, this is the thesis. I really love. It makes me excited. Yeah, when I receive a thesis, it's like, what are the expectations of me as examiner? It's something like, what can I learn from this thesis? Yeah, from this research of the students. How interesting it will be. So I will be interested to read your thesis. Have you have an experience of buying books from maybe Shopee ataupun from bookstore, kan? When you get the books, you cannot, you tak sabar, you tak sabar nak balik, nak baca. You really want to read through the books. You want to finish it, yeah? If the books is good, then you can, you just finish within days, for example. So that is how I felt when I buy books. I cannot wait to read through the books. I cannot wait to go home and sit down, have a coffee besides me, and then, read through the books thoroughly. So that is how I felt about when I received your thesis. Yeah. I can't wait to read the new ideas. The title sounds interesting. The content must be good. So that is my expectation. I think all the examiners have kind of similar expectations. Yeah. So we thought that this is something great. I can't wait to dig in the findings. So we really have the excitement to read your thesis. Yeah. And is it that great? Yeah. Is it great to have someone who really want to read your thesis? Don't you feel like, oh, seronoknya ada orang nak baca thesis kita, ada orang nak excited with your thesis. Yeah. However, lah, bila kita buka, kan, bila kita flip through your thesis, it can be something like this. Yeah, it can be something in this picture. Okay, so in reality, the problem is we have some difficulties to understand your research, your writing, for example. We try to, what is he doing? Can someone help me to understand the study? Why everything is not in order? That is a questions that appear in our mind as examiner. Oh dear God, please help. This will be a nightmare. A nightmare, to read through like 200 pages of reports while trying to examine, trying to help the student to pass, trying to give input to the students on how to improve the thesis. Yeah, because the Viva Voce sessions is not a grilling session. It's a sessions where for you to learn, for you to grow. So we as examiner not just assess the thesis, but we also give input to improve the thesis. So it's very hard work actually. So that we have to understand your thesis, we have to give input to improve, we have to give criticize your work. Yeah, so we have to be really good in the assessment, so that the student understand what we are trying to say, the student understand what kind of improvement that they have to do. So whenever that we receive incomplete or not ready, ataupun what we call as half-cooked thesis, the process will be a tiring process and it will affect your Viva, because most of the time in the Viva sessions will be the time to correct your thesis, not to, have a discussions on the science, scientific knowledge and things like that. Yeah. So you guys as students, of course, you want something like sessions that to have discussions about the knowledge, about the science, about the scientific items in the research. It's not, you don't want to listen about your English is blah, 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 blah. your grammar is problem, blah, blah, blah. That is the last thing that you want to know, okay? As a student, when I having my PhD Viva sessions, of course, I really want to have a discussions more on the knowledge, more on the theory that I have, whether this is okay or not. So what will be the next scientific knowledge that we can contribute and things like that. So we don't want something like about grammar, about formatting, and this is the last thing that we want to know, okay? However, that's selalunya student normally will have problems with the formatting of the thesis, okay? So help the examiner to help you. How to help them? It depends on the thesis itself. Please prepare your thesis the way you want, how pleasant the Viva to be, okay? If you, as examiner, you have to put yourself as the examiner. So what kind of thesis that you want to read? So maybe you can share with me some of your thought in the chat box, or you can unmute and say something. If you are the examiner of the students, what kind of thesis that you expect from the students? Maybe we will see what are your opinions. Anyone? Okay, Nadia, silakan, Nadia. You can unmute.
It's probably about what is the originality or research contribution to the
Okay,
body of knowledge.
all right. Okay, so Nadia say about originality and also the knowledge, the science from the research. Innovative, Armias? Anyone? Anyone want to share? Logical, easy to read, okay. Short and precise so that I don't have to take long time to read, Munifah kata. Sham, thesis to be concise and to the point. Focus on the research topic. Wow, can be examiner, nanti later. Kiang, CV Kiang, maybe nicely, cohesively organized, straight to the point, less frills or descriptions. Correct. Okay, lagi. Who else want to share with me? You can raise up your hands and say it in the chat, in the Zoom room. You can write something in the chat box. That is what are the comments from you guys, and you as the examiner. So you see, everyone wants something that is organized, nice and short, precise. We don't want a long-winded thesis without a focus, you know, kinds of thing like that. So the thesis should be able to stand on its own during the Viva event. So how to make how to improve your thesis? Follow the format. Yong kata, follow the format given by the university. No grammatical errors, no plagiarism. Okay, that's good. That's great. Okay, that is what we are going to discuss, how to do that. Okay, so the key that I'm going to share with you is to maintain the consistency in your thesis. Okay, so what is meant by consistency? We will have a look. I will give you some example and give you some ideas on why is it so important to have maintain the consistency, and your Viva will be fine. Okay, because this is the most lacking in the student thesis. Okay, sometimes we receive lots of not in a good order thesis. Yeah, so maybe it is a half-cooked thesis, or the student does not have idea on how to do with their thesis. Your thesis is your responsibility. Don't depend on your supervisor. Okay, so you have to take lots of your time to check your thesis thoroughly. Okay, so that is your responsibility. So don't put that under the shoulder of your supervisor. He or she will guide you through the process, but definitely will not check one by one of your work. So you have to have the responsibility to check by yourself. All right. So how the examiner check your thesis the first round? So what we see, okay? So these are the flow. We will go by title, abstract, introductions. We go by method, results, discussions. And the last one is the literature review. This is normally lah, but sometimes the examiner will look through the literature review after the abstract. Maybe it depends. Yeah, it depends. But how I write the thesis, this is how it is. I'm going to share with you what is in each of that, what I pick from that, okay? But I just want to highlight the important requirements of your work, of your research. in the PhD or in master project. You have to have a novelty, something new, anything new. Yeah. If let's say you are saying about you are trying to model or you have to develop models of something, you have to put some extra variables, or you have to put variables that nobody put before you, something like that. So you have to find out what is new in your research. And then the study contributions. What are the study contributions of your research into the nations, to the policy, to the government, to the global, to the science of the knowledge, yeah, anything, yeah, study contributions, and the significant impact, meaning that how significant is your research. Yeah, it depends on, for example, the prevalence of the disease. You want to reduce the disease or something like that. So it has some significant impacts. So these three things need to be maintained whenever that you have, whenever that you are writing your proposal or whenever that you have writing your thesis. Okay. Okay, so this is when I look through the thesis, the title, I will take a few points of it from the title. For example, you are assessing the prevalence of disease A, or you are trying to find out the relationships between disease with the factors. Okay, so I will pick some points. What are the important points from the titles? Okay, and then when I go to the abstracts, this is not the focus yet. I just will go through it, and then we will come back later. We will revisit these abstracts after I finish commenting all of the chapters. And then the critical part is the chapter 1. Yeah, so that's why we suggest you write your chapter 1 last, after you complete your chapter results and discussions and conclusions. This is because you have to tally, or you have to make consistent of your introductions with the rest of the results and discussion part. Yeah, because sometimes student ini student punya kerenah lah, nakal dia, yes, they are very nice. Nakal dia is they are copying paste chapter 1 to 3 from the proposal. Okay, so they are copying paste the proposal itself from chapter 1 to chapter 3 until method lah. So what happened was, sometimes in the process of your research, you will do some adjustment, right? You will do maybe the variable that you plan to do in your proposal is not the final variable that you assess, because you do some changes throughout the research. So when you copy paste and then forgot to edit, okay, terlupa. Sometimes the grammar is still, this research will be conducted, blah, 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 blah. This is a very irritating error or irritating things to the examiner, because you are copying and paste without editing further, because you think you don't have much time left. Yeah, you have focus on result discussion. So the chapter introductions are the last thing that you want to do. So you just copy from the proposal. So it's not the way it is. You should really focus on chapter 1. Yeah, because this chapter is very important, and it determines how well your viva will be. Okay, so we will, take the important points from the title, and we will make sure that whatever important points from the title has been addressed in your introduction, in your research background, in the problem statement, and then in the problem statement you have addressed the research gap. This is the problems of most of the students, is problem to address research gap. I'm not so sure whether you understand about the research gap or not, but I think you have to make effort to understand what is the meaning of research gap, and then to find the research gap that you want to fill in. And then why is it important for you to address that issue? Yeah, so this is very important because our field is different. Yeah, mine is more on environmental health. Maybe you guys more on science. Maybe can I know what is your field? You can just type in the chat box. Maybe someone have in the field of environmental health, or maybe you are more on public health. Kita tengok. Medical microbe, Fadila. Biochem. Finance. Oh, finance, jauh. Finance. Education. Okay, all right. Education, psychology. All right, so what else? Halal law and regulation, veterinary. All right, veterinary pathology. Linguistic. Wow, okay. Linguistic, okay. Lagi agriculture, right? Agriculture, public health, Cheryl. Okay, parasitology, virology, physical education, engineering, agronomy, economics. Wow, okay. Okay, all right, that's good. So we have variety of students today, all right? So variety of field. So this is general, so you have to find the research gap, and then why is it so important for you to fill in the gap? For example, in my field, it's about to find a relationship between, for example, factors that cause dengue. Why I have to do this? Because there is still a gap in trying to find what are the factors that cause dengue, so that if we can find the factors, then we can help to stop dengue, for example. All right. So, and then why is it so important? So because the dengue cases is increasing, so we have to stop the dengue cases because it will affect our health systems. It costs a lot of money, and that's the important to address the issue. So you have to find what is the research gap. And what further to that, so we will check your objective and hypothesis. So whether your objective is consistent with whatever that you have stated in your introductions and research problem. I will show you some examples further, so we will understand a little bit more of what is meant by the consistency. And then we will make it consistent with your method. The results we'll check whether it is consistent tak dengan you punya objective. Sometimes the student objective lain, results lain. So it's objective is something like A, B, C, D, but the result will be like W, X, Z, for example, something like that. So it's not tally. So you have to make it consistent. Yes? Consistency is very important. The main thing, once you maintain this consistency, your thesis will be fine, your viva will be great, all right? So the discussions, again, we will make sure it's consistent with whatever that you have stated in the objective, whatever that you have stated in the results. And the last thing is literature review, whether you have stated all the informations about the topics in the literature review, as well as discuss about the method, the limitations about the method, okay? Okay, so these are the example. For example, this is from one of my students study, the recent one lah. Yang lama-lama tu dah entah mana-mana dah lupa dah. So this is just a general example lah for you guys to have an idea what is meant by consistency. Okay, for example, when we look at the title, so we will pick points. Remember just now I told you that I will pick important points from your title. So that is why is it so important for you to maintain the titles consistent with your objective, consistent with the problem statement. So I always give some tips to my students. Take your general objective as the title, right? So you have to revise the general objective to be the title. So this much will be, this will maintain the consistency and helps the reader to understand the thesis as a whole, right? So for example, in this one, the important points that I've highlighted in the yellow. Okay, so in this title, it will tell us about environmental, health, and safety impacts of e-hailing services, because this research is focused on to provide or to develop sustainable health, yeah, for Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so when I read through background study, so I really want you to discuss the important points. So here, this is the example that I highlighted in red. This is the points that she stated in the background. Not one paragraph lah, you have to a few paragraph lah. So this is just example, okay? This is just one example. In one paragraph, you have to put everything. You have to generally discuss every points from your titles. So for example, here it tells you about e-hailing, it tells you about the environmental sustainability plan, it tells you about the health and safety impacts and things like that, all right? So that need to be in your background of the study and also in the problem statement. So in the problem statement, of course, you have to write down what is the problem. Sometimes the student have problem to indicate what is the problems. They give several facts. Yeah, dia tulis lah, the prevalence of the disease is blah 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 blah, is high blah 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 blah. But the problem tak tahu apa masalah ni. What is the problem? Kan? So you have to state the problem. So for example, today the problem is how to do well in Viva. So that's the problem. So that need to be discussed in the problem statement, for example. Kan? So dalam research ni, it tells us about e-hailing services. So the problem is when you have a huge city, the e-hailing services will increase. then we want to know the impact of these e-hailing services to the environment. Okay, so that is why we want to do the study, to know how this e-hailing impact the environment and also the human. So that is the problems, the research gap that we are trying to fulfill. And you can say something like there are limited research done, on the topics, or limited research done on the modeling, or you can say something like in previous modeling they don't include X. So in my modelings I will include X, Y, Z because this factor is important, blah blah blah. So something like that. Okay, so that is the research gap you want to fill in your problem statement. So when we look at, after that, we will look at the research questions, the objective, the hypothesis, and also what kind of data analysis actually that you are trying to choose for your objective. So in my field, in our field, maybe you can try to bring it to your field. I'm not so sure how this could helps you practically, but this is generally to make you understand what is meant by the consistency. Okay, for example, this is your research questions. How does e-hailing services affect the environment? So of course, in order to answer these research questions, you have to have several objectives, okay? So you have to make sure that your objective is consistent with your research questions. So in this example, this is consistent, all of the objective is consistent because they are trying to understand about the e-hailing services itself from the vehicles attribute. It tries to know environmental emissions, because the research question is to know how the e-hailing services impact the environment. And then they want to find a relationships, how the vehicles, the services impact the environmental emission. So another thing that you have to check is to check the flow or the order of your objective. You have to susun, you have to arrange your objective from descriptive analysis towards the more advanced statistic. So normally in our field, in Faculty of Medicines, what we do is we will arrange our objective from the descriptive, followed by comparisons, if you have objective of comparisons, and then followed by relationships. And the last one will be like maybe modeling or things like that. Okay, so that you have a flow, a nice flow, so that it's easier for the reader to understand the analysis that you will do. Of course, it will start with descriptive. Descriptive meaning that the data will be like you have average, you have standard deviations. The result will be like you have a range. Okay, so when it comes to hypothesis testing, whether you want to see there is a comparison, there is differences between groups, then it deals with more advanced statistics. Another comparison statistic, compare means. And then the next is significant relationship. To find some relationship between one factor to another is regressions, for example. So you have to make sure that you have a correct order of your objective. Okay, so you have to check also the consistency with your hypothesis. Okay, because not all objectives have hypothesis. Okay, so this is kind of what I've said just now. You have to check your objective. Is it the arrangement is okay? For example, this one, is it measurable? Yeah, sometimes when you write objective, please try to ask a question. Can be measured? Yeah, so what are the variables that you are trying to measure? If it's not, then you have to revise the word. Yeah, you have to revise until you can measure the objective. And then is this objective need hypothesis? Not all objective need hypothesis. For example, if you see the objective number 1 to assess the environmental emissions, this one does not have hypothesis because it's just to assess descriptively. You want to know the values. You're not testing the relationships, or you don't want to see any comparison. So that is not objective that need hypothesis. Okay. So when after you check your objective, you also have to check your hypothesis. What is very important here is not all objective has hypothesis. Yeah. For example, this one, the first one, to assess environmental emissions, we don't want hypothesis here. But to determine the relationship, this is something that we need hypothesis, because we need to know whether there is a significant relationships or not, or what are the factors when it increase, whether the disease will increase, is something like that. Okay. And then the important points here is the standardizations, meaning that you have to choose a standardized hypothesis. Sometimes we receive most of the thesis of the hypothesis, dia ada hypothesis directional, tiba-tiba kan dia tukar, they use null hypothesis. So it's like a rojak, it's mixing of types of hypothesis. So you have to make it standardized. If you choose null hypothesis type, then you have throughout your thesis, throughout your writing, you have to focus on the null hypothesis. If you are focusing on directional hypothesis, for example, this one, increasing the dosage of medications will lead to a decreased blood pressure. This is directional, because if directional means you have a directions of your hypothesis. Once it's increased, then another factors will increase or decrease, something like that. So you have to maintain that. You have to make it standardized. Jangan campur-campur, don't be a rojak. Okay, all right. And another one is to check your method. Is it consistent with your objective? That is how, when we read through your thesis, we will check your method and then we will check your objective. Whether this method answer your objective or whether it is not. And then whether you have a justification, a clear justifications on why you choose that method. For example, locations of your study, okay? So the examiner, the favorite questions is why you choose the locations, okay? Why you choose to study in Kuala Lumpur, for example, or in some places, yeah? So you cannot answer like, because this is near to my college, this is the most convenient place, this is near to my house, this is near to my hometown, this is within my budget. That is not the answer that we expect from you. So we really want some answer that has a scientific knowledge behind that. For example, I choose this area because the disease of X is increased, or the prevalence of disease in Kuala Lumpur is blah, 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 something like that. I choose Kuala Lumpur because Kuala Lumpur will be a greater locations where the population will increase in 2060s, kinds of things. As there is a scientific justifications behind whatever selections that you do. You will select methods, you will select the best method for your study. So you have to justify why you choose that method. And then you have to know the limit. Okay, most of the students are afraid or scared to accept the limit. We have limits. We are not perfect, including our method, including our study, including our lab machine. Yeah? So you cannot say that your machine is perfect. No, there is a limitations. So you have to take notes of the limitations of the method that you choose, of the machines. Yeah. So they have some, maybe perhaps some machines has some limits. They cannot detect more than 0.1 part per billion, for example. But your chemicals or your pollutants is actually can go to nanomil, for example. So that is a kind of limitations that you have to address. That is very important for you to address in the method, because the examiner don't want you to be perfect. Yeah, we want you to respect the science. We want you as a researcher respect this, because you have to know the limitations. You have to know how to handle the limitations. You have to know the bias. Yeah, most of the time students will say, oh, my research, I will try to avoid bias. Yeah, so that's the word. So yeah, that is the researcher that we want. We want someone who are responsible on what they are doing. They know the limitations, they address it, they don't lie. That is what we want. Yeah, so don't avoid to address the limitations of your work. Of course, it's not perfect. We are not perfect anyway. So don't be perfect, all right? So you have to know the mechanism of your machine. Yeah, for example, this one, I put some examples on air pollution monitoring machines. So they have a few mechanisms. Ada yang passive sampling, ada yang guna sensor, yeah, ada yang particle counting. So you have to understand the mechanism of your machines. Because, for example, one of the alat, for example, dust collector, will be affected if you have like kebakaran or you have open burning. Yeah, so when you have open burning, then your result will be not accurate. So you have to understand that. Kita nak, you faham the mechanism of the machines, what will be go wrong, things like that. As a researcher, there is no right and wrong. But the most important thing is jujur. Jujur dalam bahasa Melayu, apa? Honest. Honest with yourself, honest with the data, honest with your research. You have to be honest to yourself, especially, kan? So honest with the knowledge. So we want you to practice that. We don't want you to be perfect sampai don't want to address the limitations. This is the perfect research. Kan? So that's not the idea that we want to plant. Yeah. And then you have to verify the questionnaire, for example. Please, for those who doing questionnaire, please understand there is a differences between validity and reliability. Yeah. So most of the students are unable to understand this. So you have to make sure that you understand what is the difference. It's not the same. Okay. And then you also have to know how to translate your questionnaire. There are several methods to translate the questionnaire to several languages. All of this is to help to reduce bias. Okay, so these are the things that we check lah in your method, quality control, yeah, some things like that. Okay, okay, let me finish. Dan kita akan ada soalan Kejap panjang sikit lagi. Okay, last, when we check your method and then we go to your results, we will check the consistency again. We will check the consistency, whether it's consistent tak dengan results, dengan objective, yeah, with your objective. For example, this one, we have 3 objectives. Objective 1 to assess vehicle attributes. Objective 2 is to assess environmental emissions. Objective 3 is the relationships. Let us check the chapter 4 sections, the results. So 4.1, section 4.1, environmental emission. Okay, pass. There is in the objective because it's answer the objective number 2. In section 4.2, the comparison pula of e-hailing services. This one, our comment will be, was not in the objective. Is this the real objective? Is this important? Is this blah, 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 you know, because it's not in the objective. So we start to question, why is it so important? Kenapa nak compare? Why you want to compare? Bila masa pula, when you discuss this? Dah tengok pula balik literature review, tengok introductions. So this is the important points that you have to look through. Okay, so you have to make it tally to your objective. And then 4.3 section, the vehicles attribute. Okay, this is passed to answer the objective number 1. And 4.4, the relationship. Okay, this is also passed to answer objective number 3. Okay, what you can see from here ialah maintain the word. Okay, maintain the word, consistent wording, consistent terminology. If it's comparison, then write the section's name as it is, to make it easier for the examiner to check, so that they will, oh, okay, this one is answering objective number 1, okay, pass. Oh, this is answering objective number 2, okay, done. Okay, this is good, something like that. Okay, so but the problem with this chapter 4, pertama, the first one is result were not consistent with the objective, especially for the section 4.2, because the comparison was not stated in the objective. In your chapter 1, you not stated whether you want to compare or not, but suddenly the result is there. So it's like, oh, mana pula datanya? Where is it come from? Yeah, and then the result not consistent order with the objective. So the arrangements. So you have to make sure that you arrange your sections accordingly, significantly consistent with the objective. Because it's not, it will be irritating. It will disrupt the reader when to read through. Because when we read your thesis, it's like reading a book. So when it's not consistent, so we are facing very hard to understand your research. It will be more comments. Yeah, we will put more comments in your reports. So we don't want that. Yeah, we don't want that to happen. And we will ask more questions in the Viva to understand what is the research all about. So please try to avoid this. If you can maintain the consistency, at least 50% of the hassle during Viva has been passed. Okay. Right. So discussion and conclusions, again, consistent with the objective and results. Are you answering your research questions? So you have to make sure that you address this, whether you're answering or not your research question. Have you discussed result, why is it so? Meaning that why is it high, why is it low, why you didn't get relationships, why the comparison is not significant, yeah, for any reason. So you have to discuss that. and then have you compare your results with the previous study. Of course, we want to know previous study punya report macam mana, what are the values. Okay, all right, so done with the consistency. Okay, so I just share with you 10 tips. Tadi dah 2, so this is more tips. Like, okay, tips number 3 is know your thesis inside out. So for whoever that have, leave the thesis, basically, normally, once you submit your thesis, within a month, you will be called for a viva. So in the month, so you can read through your thesis again to make you familiarized with whatever that you have written. Yeah, and I understand that you have worked for like maybe 2 or 3 years of your thesis. Sometimes you forgot already, but you have to know your thesis all inside out. Okay, and then you have to practice your viva. Practice and prepare early. This is my experience. Most of the students will prepare like 2 weeks before the viva. So what you expect that you can do within 2 weeks? The corrections of the viva, the nervous too that kills 1 week. So you cannot produce a good presentations during the viva. So you are not really ready. So please prepare, because once you submit, within 1 month, we will call you for the viva for sure. If it's in UPM lah, kalau universiti lain, I'm not so sure. But in UPM, within a month, we will call you for a viva. So just practice within that 1 month. So you have more time, ample time for you. And also create a strong structure. When you present, tell us a story. Yeah, it's like a storytelling. Dulu masa kecil-kecil, your moms always tells you a story, right? Or maybe your dad or your sisters, Kan kita ada storytelling competitions, for example. So try to do that, Don't read the slides. However, try to explain, Try to explain. So if you have ample time to get ready, then you can do that. Kalau you prepare within 2 weeks, memang tak done lah, tak sempat. You don't have time lah, within 2 weeks, you cannot explain. You have to read je kan. So it's very boring. Be concise and clear. Try to explain the complex concept in simpler terms. So that the examiner will take it like, oh, very interesting. The student can explain. Oh, the student has this capability. Oh, the student has this kind of knowledge. Oh, this is good. Something like that. So you have meet their expectations, right? And then again, tips number 6, stay calm and confident. The keyword ialah, you know your research better. You are the only one who knows. We don't know. Examiner don't know. Supervisor don't know. Not knowing much lah, because you are the one who involved with the research 24/7. Isn't it? Dalam toilet pun duk fikir, ni introduction nak tulis apa? Betul tak? Makan, tidur, whenever that you want to sleep, you think about your work, your PhD or your research. Makan pun duk fikir, dating pun fikir, dekat wayang pun fikir. Itu saya lah dulu, tak tahu you all maybe tak kot. Whenever, it's like if I can share with you my experience, it's like you have a stone, it's like a rocks, on top of your head. Selagi tak viva, selagi you tak finish it off, it's like really heavy for you. So you think of it every day. So it's normal to feel nervous. It is normal, yes. But you have to stay calm and confidence, because you know better. You have to take role. You have to take responsibility to explain in a better way, to explain to those who don't understand. Examiner does not have much knowledge as you, so that you have to explain to them. Take that responsibility. Okay, and then take your time to answer the questions when the examiner asks. Don't rush. Okay, they give you some time to think the best answer. You may take a breath before you answer the questions. Don't rush. Nothing to rush. Okay, it's okay to have 4 hours of viva, no problem. We will provide you with water, coffee, and so it's okay. Take some time, right? So don't rush to answer the questions. Stay positive. Tips number 7, stay positive and be professional. Be open to constructive criticisms. I know that sometimes we have difficulties to accept criticism. Of course, because we have worked this research like 3 tahun, 4 tahun, 5 years, 6 years. Tiba-tiba some people don't know where they come from and then give comments, criticize your work. Sometimes it's very it's very hurtful lah, sakitnya rasa kan. But you have to be open to constructive comments, because this is the process for you to learn and to grow. Yeah, this is the professions that we choose. This is the things that you want. Yeah, you remember when you register for PhD or master, you have the imagine the final view in yourself, have passed the Viva, have passed the PhD very well. So this is the journey. So you have to be very positive and professional. Avoid becoming defensive. Yeah, it's not about you. It's just about the science. It's just about the knowledge. We criticize, we comment of the knowledge. It's not you personally. So don't take it to your heart. Don't be too defensive. Of course, you have to defend your Viva lah, your thesis, but janganlah terlalu becoming too defensive. Yeah. Okay. Tips number 8 is get feedback. Yeah, you have to rehearse in front of your supervisor, in front of friends, get feedback from them. So it can help you to grow. And then you have to plan for technical glitch. Yeah, sometimes because we are too nervous, tiba-tiba PowerPoint is not working. Yeah, or maybe suddenly then you lost your word. Okay, so you have to manage your time. Very good. In time management is very important. Be early to your Viva sessions. Be early, so that if you have any technical issues, you have ample time to address that technical issues. If you have a Viva sessions online, then try to open up your slides before the examiners come. Try to open up your thesis, yeah? Get ready with all the computers and things like that, and have some technical issues. You have a backup of computers, anything that you can think of to make sure that the Viva sessions go smoothly. Okay, last tips. Enjoy your Viva and have fun. Okay, so because this is the sessions where you can berbahas, you can debate the idea, because after this you don't have time, you don't have platform. We just have a platforms in the conference, but the conference you just give like maybe 10 minutes, 30 minutes to present whatever that your findings. So this is, you have like 2 or 3 hours to debate the ideas, to debate the theory, to debate the science. Bukankah, is it fun to us? Kan, yang suka ni, we like our field, right? So you have to enjoy the Viva session and have fun. So you have to stay positive afterwards. Whatever the result is, you have to try your best. This is the opportunity to learn and grow. Let's God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decide for you. And of course, if you have do well, of course, the result will be well, and the result will be good. Okay. All right. So I think I've done with the 10 steps. Yeah. Okay. I think now maybe Dr. Fasiha can moderate the sessions of if they have any questions or they have any comments. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sharifah, for that enlightening presentation. Okay, so now we'll proceed to our question and answer session. Please type your questions into the chat and I will read them to Dr. Sharifah. Or alternatively, you can raise your virtual hand and we'll give you the opportunity to speak. Okay, so we have several questions here. Right. Okay, so we have one question from Iko Fajar. Dear Madam, I want to ask, I think the thesis should be detailed and comprehensive with complete information, and papers for publication should be short, to the point and concise. Is my opinion correct? Okay, so Dr. Sharifah, maybe you would like to answer that first.
Okay, let me repeat. He said that the
thesis should be detailed and comprehensive with complete information, and papers for publication should be short.
Yeah, that is correct. Normally, in thesis, we will discuss from A to Z in detail. The process of the method, why you have to justify, kan? In your thesis, you have to justify why you choose that method, why is it so important. But in paper, you don't have much allocations for that, because of course paper have some limitations. in some journals, they just want like 4,000 words or 5,000 words only. So you have very limited space to write all of the details. So in papers, yeah, it is concise and short. But in thesis, you have to be very detailed. You have to justify every single thing, even though the method, why you choose the locations, the time, the monitoring that you done, you have to justify, because this is the favorite questions of the examiner. Why you do that? Why you select this? Why you choose this? Yeah, the questions is all examiners are similar. Why you do this? Why you choose this? Something like that. So if you have clarified clearly in your thesis, then they will not ask you again during the viva. It's just to, you know, to have a short discussions during the viva. I hope that I answered the questions.
All right. Okay. So proceed with the next question. Okay. Dear Doctor, it's from Lee Rihua. Dear Doctor, when can we know who is our examiner? Since we should know some background of our examiner.
Okay. All right. This depends on the supervisory committee. Yeah. There is, I know that few of my friends will appoint or will have some of the names whenever that you are in your second or third year. They have ready already. Yeah? They have get ready with a few names of the examiners for you. So they will send the names when you are about to finish your writings to the committee of the university, and then the university will have a discussions whether this examiner is okay or not for you, and then they will nominate and they will appoint. So it takes some time. So it may be, most probably you will know your examiner in your third year or in your final year of your thesis writing. So, or maybe you can know earlier. It depends on how your supervisor address that. Depends on that. Yeah, so, but normally you will know your examiner early, yeah, so that you can get ready who is what kind of questions that they will give you in the viva. I hope I answered the question, Dr. Fasi.
Yes. I think it's by Lee Rihua. Does Dr. Sharifah answer your question?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So next question. It's by Hisham Al-Shadfan. Okay. So he asked, could we consider the final draft of the proposal submitted to JKUPM? So this is the ethics committee by UPM. So could we consider the final draft of the proposal submitted to the ethics committee after making the corrections of their comments as an initial and correct way to consider it in methodology section?
Okay, all right. Thank you for the questions. Yes, you can use that. You can consider the final draft to be considered in that is the final methods. But of course, during your research, you will do some more just some more adjustment. Even though you have received ethical approval, yeah. Sometimes it may change 100%, even though you have received the ethical approval. When you do your lab work, for example, you think, this is not going to address the issue, so I have to change. So you have to change the method as well. So it depends on how your analysis or how your lab work will be. So if you don't need to have adjustment, then you can just copy from whatever draft that you have submitted to the committee, because this one has been commented by the ethical committee, and I think they have comment also about the design and the method that you use, the justifications behind that. So they want you to address in detail. So I think you can use that. I hope I answered the questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sharifah. And he answered yes, clear, many thanks. Okay, so next question is by C.W. Yong. So the question is, some students get major, minor, or zero correction required during viva. So explain in greater details, please. How do you determine this status?
Okay, all right. Thank you, Young. Yeah, that's just a good questions. We will give you the major, minor, or distinctions. Zero corrections mean distinctions. There is perfect lah. Your thesis is perfect. So this is based on how much work or how much corrections the thesis needed. If you don't need to have more data collections, the design is not flaws, yeah, the design is not wrong. There is no need for you to further analysis, no lab work. So you will receive like maybe distinctions, minor or major. The difference between minor and major is the time frames that allocated for each of the corrections. If I'm not mistaken, minor is like how many months, Dr. Fasih? 3 months, isn't it?
3 months, yeah.
Okay, so for the minor corrections, we will give you like 3 months time for you to done the corrections, while for the major is 6 months. Okay, so this time frame differentiates of how many corrections that you have to make. If there is some major corrections, you have to arrange the structures of the thesis, you have to rewrite of the statement, you have to look at back of the analysis, it's major, lots of work to do, then we will give you major corrections. So that you have ample time of 6 months to do the corrections. If there is not involved any of the, you don't have to look at the analysis, it's just like minor, like correcting the statement, add in some more justifications, check your grammatical error and things like that. Just as minor little things, then we will give you minor corrections. And if the examiner are very happy with your thesis and they find that there is not much corrections that to make, maybe you can have a distinctions, 0 corrections. So that is your ultimate lah. Kalau if you really want to focus on it, you can go for a distinctions. Yeah, so it depends on how well you write your thesis. Yeah, so that is the difference between that 3. I hope I answer your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Young.
Okay, all right. So moving on with the next question. It's by Suraya. Personally, Doctor, what is your favorite question to the candidate?
Okay. Personally, well, it's not my questions lah, tapi examiner questions. Most of the questions ialah we will ask about the introductions part, the research problems, why you want to study this, what triggering your research, why you want to do this study, why is it so important, and then why is something new. That is the favorite question. Why is it so important for you to fill in the gaps? How you compare to previous researchers, something like that. How the research will contribute to the nations, to the policies, to the government, to the global. So that is the interesting part. So this is where we can see how good is the students to think. So we really want you to be a critical thinker. We don't want you to be perfect. No, you don't need to be perfect. As again, I mentioned, no need to be perfect. Everyone has flaws, but we want you to respect the knowledge. You know why you are doing, you know how to do it, and you know how important it is. So when you answer the questions correctly, you address all the issues correctly. So then we as an examiner feel like, oh, okay, this candidate is appropriate to be awarded for PhD. Doctorships, for example, something like that. So that is the favorite. The second favorite thing adalah method. Okay, the method. The method is very important lah. That is our favorite things. We will ask you about why you do this, why you choose to run the analysis with this method, why not that method? The limitations of this method is what? Why is it so important? Use that method. How you verified your questionnaire, how you verified your translations. What about the ethics? That is the method part. Yeah. And of course, the important is the results lah. Whenever that you have a statistical analysis, we want to see whether the student do the statistic. Okay, I'm not so sure whether I can share this with you guys, but it's just for our knowledge lah. There is some points where the students give the statistical analysis to someone, or they hire a consultant to do that. Yeah. So, but by right, this is wrong. You have to do it by your own. Okay, so you have to know a very single things about the statistic. So sometimes when you don't understand, you just put in the chapter 4, we automatically know, okay, student ni tak buat, this student not doing it. This student do, send it to consultant to do that, or other people to do that, automatically. So there is a differences when you understand or when you hire someone to do that. As an examiner, we can point that. So be very careful. If even though you ask help from someone to do, learn again for yourself to know what they are doing, how to do that, so that you can get ready for the Viva, especially the statistical analysis. That is the critical one. I hope that I answered the questions.
Thank you, Dr. Sharifah. So, Suraya, did Dr. Sharifah answer your question? So, I take that as a yes. All right. Okay, so next question is by Khadija. Please, can we have the slide of the presentation?
Okay, no problem. I will email you with the video, don't worry.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sharifah. Okay, next question by Lee Ruihua. One more question. In what circumstances there is a reviver?
Okay, in what circumstances is when you cannot answer the questions, when you are not doing your research, when you are plagiarized, yeah, when you don't know anything. That is not revival. When you cannot answer the question, even a simple question also you cannot answer. Then that is a disaster. Not just to you, disaster to the examiner as well, because we have to go through again the process. It's very tiring. Please don't revival. Okay, so as long as you are doing your research, you are honest to yourself, you do your research, there is no revival. No, there is a big no. So don't worry about revival. You do your research, you do your work perfectly, you put your effort 100% to your work, I can guarantee you there is no revival. There is no revival. So you will pass. It's either distinctions, minor or major. That's for sure.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sharifah. Does that answer the question, Lee Ruihua?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, so next question is by Armias. Doctor, from your experience, are there any students who fail their Viva Voce?
Ada, yes. Yes. Whenever that you can't answer the questions, even though your thesis is perfect, you can't answer the questions very well. You don't even understand what is research gap. You don't know what is study contributions. You don't know how impactful of your research. You don't even understand the statistic. Then you will be failed. But if you can answer all the questions, you know. Okay, let me differentiate this. You will be not fail because you are nervous. Okay, there is no such thing. You nervous, but you have knowledge. Is good. That's fine. We will help you to answer the questions. We know that sometimes you feel nervous, you cannot answer the question. It's in your mind, but it does not go out, something like that. So if you lost word, for example, that will not fail you. But what makes you fail is when you not know anything. That will be fail. Yeah? When we ask about what is the statistic you cannot answer, what is your research problem you don't understand, the research gap you cannot explain, and then that is a problem. So yes, to my experience, we have several occasions that the student failed the Viva or they have to re-Viva again. But please, that's not our aims. Please don't. Please don't re-Viva. It's very tiring. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you, Dr. Sharifah. Does Dr. Sharifah answer your question, Armias? Yes, okay. All right. So next question by Iko Fajar. So he asked, how should I do if I don't know the answers of examiner question? Better say honestly, I don't know, or I try to answer, but I'm not sure about the truth.
Okay, all right. So this is what I told my students. If you don't know, you just say don't know. Be honest, yeah? But Janganlah, don't just say don't know, kan? You have to like saying it in professional way. So meaning that I'm sorry, I don't have crossed that part, or you can say that I'm sorry, I don't have that idea yet, but I will check back with my supervisory team, or I will check back after the Viva sessions. You know, you have to answer it professionally. Yeah, you don't say, oh sorry, I don't know. not that. Yeah, you have to answer it properly. Of course, of course, we are not library. We are not the books. We need times to read through. We need times to check whether, oh, I maybe missed this point. Yeah, we don't have, maybe sometimes we don't even come across whatever that the examiner said. We just have heard that during the Viva sessions. So you just thank the examiner for the comments. Thank you, Prof, for that comments. I'm sorry, I maybe missed that point, or maybe I'm not so sure about that, but I will check after the Viva session. So that is the best way for you to answer the questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sharifah, for the answer. So, Iko, does Dr. Sharifah answer your question? Yes, okay, all right. So, next question is by Hisham. Could the examiner ask for something already mentioned and explained in details in the thesis?
Yes, yes. Because there is a differences when you write and when you say it. Okay? We really want to know whether the students know about what they have written in the thesis. So of course, because this is examination, so what you expect. So even though you have explained it, critical times, you have mentioned it through your presentation, again, the examiner will ask, what trigger your research? And then you just start to wonder, hey, have I mentioned just now? But please don't say like that. You have to professionally address that. Yeah, you can say like, okay, thank you very much, Prof, for that questions. As I mentioned in the slide, or I have mentioned this in chapter 1, blah, blah, blah. This is my research, blah, 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 something like that. So address it professionally. Okay. But sometimes you feel irritating as well. As a student, I understand. By looking at your eyes also, I understand.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sharifah. So, Hisham, does Dr. Sharifah answer your question? I hope so.
Yes, clear.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so next question is by Yong. Okay, say the worst scenario occurs, no electricity. Can we proceed with the Viva using tablet, etc.?
Sure, can, no problem. If there is no electricity or anything, we will help you. We will definitely help you to go through the Viva. It's either we can just, arrange for another time or whatever. It's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sharifah. So, Yong, does Dr. Sharifah answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay. So, next question is by Hisham again. Okay, so Hisham asks, what is the best way if the student don't understand the examiner's question?
Okay, it depends on how the Viva sessions will be. Okay, if it's a physical Viva sessions, yeah, you have your supervisor in front of you as well, or besides you. If you're not really sure of the questions, try to ask the examiner to repeat the questions. So usually when you ask them to repeat the questions, they will make the questions simpler. Yeah, they will try for you to understand the questions. If still you cannot get the points, you can turn to your supervisor and have eyesight, and then he will try to help you to understand the question. So your supervisor will help you. So don't worry, okay? It depends. If it's in online session, you can just address it to your supervisor. Doctor, can you help me? I still don't get what the examiner trying to say. So definitely the supervisor will help you. We know already when our student is stuck or when our student don't have any idea. So we will try to interfere or in comes to the session. So don't worry about that.
Thank you, Dr. Sharifah. So Hisham, does that answer your question? I hope so. Yes, okay. So next question by Yong. Is physical or online Viva advantageous to the student?
Okay, actually both. Both is advantageous to the student. How it will advantageous to you? With the online sessions, you have the screens, you can tampal, you can paste all the informations besides you. You can just, see, oh, where's the answer? Where? Something like that. And you can have another screen to help you. That is the online sessions, yeah. And also you can have WhatsApp to help you. You have all the gadgets. So that is the advantages. With the physical one, you can have the advantages by having heart-to-heart sessions. Yeah, of course, when the examiner look at to the student eyes and then, oh, I feel sorry for him. He cannot understand the question or he cannot answer the question. Okay, tak apa. It's okay. Give him some time. So that is the advantages that you can get. So both ways, physical or online Viva sessions will be benefits to you, but will be advantages to you. So don't worry, whatever that you decide for your Viva, you can have both benefits in kind of different ways, but it will be a very fun and pleasant journey. So don't think that Viva is better than, online is better than physical. I guess both are fine.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sharifah. And Yong already said thanks, so I guess that answered the question.
Okay.
Okay, I think
All right.
I've read all the questions.
How
Oh, another question by Hisham. How long time should be between the question and the answer?
Okay, it depends on you. It depends. We don't give times. It depends on you. Can take some times to think. Yeah, but don't be too long lah. Don't be too long. But I guess maybe 1 or 2 more minutes for you to think. So then before you answer, that is fine. Okay. All right. Don't take too long.
Okay, so another question. Oh, okay, another question by Yong. External examiner is needed for Viva. Why?
Okay. Okay. Why we need external examiner? One for good reason is we want, of course, we want quality to our students, right? So when, for example, if UPM lecturer assessing UPM students, of course, we will helping our students. We want our students to be passed and things like that. So, and then we understand the systems of UPM. So we understand the hurdle, the hassle, the difficulty. So we'll have like some self-pity, or we will be like trying to help students, yeah, in whatever ways. But if we also want the quality as to a very on top of everything, we want our students, the best students that we produce. So that is why we need someone outside of the university to validate whatever that we have assessed. Of course, don't worry, whether it is external or internal, as the name is academicians, their wavelength is the same. Okay, so their interest is the same. You ask lah, you can ask many academics. You can see the trend. They have a similar wavelength. So don't worry, whether you have external or internal only, that does not, it does not change or this does not influence your Viva. So the external examiner is try to validate whatever that we have done. Okay, but bear in mind, in some cases, if the external examiner was called and must come during the PhD Viva sessions, is meaning that we want someone to validate your works critically. So that is good. So don't sketch too much on the external examiner. As I said, even though they are external, their wavelength is the same, like your supervisor, like your committee, like the internal examiner, they are the same. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Dr. Sharifah. And I think that answered the question. Okay, next question is by Hisham. How many external examiner will be nominated for Viva?
Okay, external examiner, if in UPM, we will appoint 1 external examiner for PhD. But for master will be, I think, 1 as well for my master. The difference is for PhD, we have 2 internal examiner. For UPM practice, I'm not so sure other university, but for UPM, we have 2 internal and 1 external. For Viva, for master by research, only 1 internal and 1 external. So that is UPM practice.
Just a question, Doctor. So 1 external and 2 internal from UPM, yeah?
Yes.
The internal, the committee or the committee, internal committee already if I have already two from UPM. So there will be included for the internal UPM, or rather than these two.
Okay, all right. You mean that you already have internal committee? That is different. That is supervisory committee. Yeah.
Yes.
So that the supervisory committee to helps you with your research. They will not examine, they will not access your thesis. This is someone else. There are someone that we appoint to read your thesis after you finish or after you complete your research.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Hisham.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sharifah. Okay, next question by K. Doctor, what is the role of chairman in Viva session compared to examiners?
Okay. All right. Chairman is trying to smoothen the sessions. Yeah. Sometimes there is I have experience being a chairman where there is a very harsh discussions when the students are unable to receive comments. The students are very defensive, then the examiner is also hot. Okay? So there are like a fighting sessions during the Viva. It shouldn't be. So the chairman role is try to smoothen the situations if you face this kind of situations. And they will help you to understand the questions. They will help you to understand the examiner, and they will address the examiner comments. They will help you to understand the comments. Yeah. So the chairman role is trying to help you actually to undergo the process smoothly. So this is what we do during the Viva sessions. And what is compared to the examiner? Of course, the examiner is examine. They assess you. They will critique you. They will commend you. But the chairman will not. Chairman will definitely try to make the sessions good, and then they will try to help you.
Okay,
Oh, we
thank
have
you.
more questions.
Yeah.
Okay. This can we have that? This is last questions.
Okay. All right. So last question by Yong. Can the external examiner come from either local or foreign university? Who decide this decision?
Okay, all right. So from UPM practice, if you are a PhD candidate, the external examiner is from other university. It can be local or it can be foreign. Previous time, we have to appoint someone who are foreign or international university, not local. But because we have some difficulties to, for the process, it takes some time. So we have revised the procedure, and now the external can be in the local university as well as the foreign. It depends on your supervisor. Who decide these decisions is your supervisor. Your supervisor will give names to the committee of the university. So the committee will check whether this person can assess PhD students, because there is some requirements that they have to fulfill. And if they can assess, then this is your examiner. So who decide this is your supervisor. So you can get all this information from your supervisor, who is the potential examiner for you. Okay. All right.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much, Dr. Sharifah.
Okay.
So if anyone has any other further question, you may actually send Dr. Sharifah an email. So as shown in this slide. All right, so it looks like we have addressed all the questions for today. I would like to express our gratitude to Associate Professor, Geospecialist Technologist, Dr. Sharifah Nur Khadijah, for sharing such valuable insights, and to all our participants for your active involvement. Yes, you can get the slide and the recording. And additionally, our next webinar will be on preparing a stylish Viva presentation and scientific oral conference oral presentation tips and tricks, which will be on 18th of October 2023. Sorry. We hope to see you there. And thank you so much, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Good luck.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Doctor.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Doctor.